You're
DreAllDay.com.
now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That's the go-getter energy that moves you to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one show, and it is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic, why you need a meditation practice for your life. I'm talking about this subject because I was talking not too long ago on this show about reconnecting with your instincts in masterclass number 1448. And when I was talking about that topic, or some of that topic, I referred to that topic is the best way to say it when I was doing a live on Instagram, and I always take a Q&A when I do my Instagram lives. It's every day at Dre Baldwin on Instagram if you're not following me. And someone asked me about meditation, like, should they do meditation? Is meditation good? Can meditation help me do this or help me do that? And I looked through my master list of every master class that I've done here on this show, and I realized I had never done one dedicated to meditation. And I realized that I needed to do one for several reasons. Number one, I meditate every single day. I'm doing meditation every day for several years, probably consistently since 2014, meditating every day. I don't even remember what it was that led me to doing it. Probably something that I read from Tim Ferriss, because he talked about it a lot back, at least back then he was talking about it a lot. He still does to this very day. And I'm going to get into, when we get into this class, I'll explain to you the benefits of meditation, what it does for you, that's why the topic is why you need a meditation practice. But people have been asking me, well, can it help me do business? Can it help me deal with other people? Can it help me play a sport? Can it help me do anything? Because it will help my body be better. Yes, meditation will help you with all of those things. And as I get into the points and explain why you want to have a meditation practice, you'll understand exactly what that is. And I've had several people ask me about meditation just recently, which also contributed to me wanting to make that a topic for today's class. Again, masterclass number 1448, I talked about, again, the subject of that class was how to reconnect with your instincts and gut feelings. And one of the ways you need to do that is to clear your mind, give your mind some space. And meditation is the best way that I know of to do that. So today what I'm going to do is sell you on the concept of meditation. And once you are sold and then you go and do it, and understand there is no right or wrong way to meditate. All right. That's why it's called a meditation practice. And we're going to get into that as we get deeper into this class. And once I sell you on meditation, then you can go and do it, and you will reap the benefits that I'm going to tell you about in advance right now. So let's get into the class again. Point number one, the topic, why you need a meditation practice. Point number one thing that meditation does for you is it gives your mind a reset. It's basically like hitting the reset button on your mind. The same way that your computer or your phone tends to become slow or unresponsive when it's been on for too long, simply resetting the computer or the hard resetting your phone, what does it do? It gets things back to normal. Just yesterday I was using my phone and I noticed that it wasn't taking the charge. I had the charger plugged in, and it had been plugged into the phone for some time, but it was still on like 82%, and the number hadn't changed at all. And even though the light in the top right corner that shows that it's charging, it was green. So obviously the charger is connected to the phone, but it wasn't doing anything. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this phone? So I restarted the phone. I hadn't restarted the phone in like weeks. And for those phones are so efficient, you don't have to, but I restarted the phone, and now it's taking the charge as normal. So then it went up from 82 back up to 100%. Same thing that happens with our laptop or desktop computers. If we're using them a lot and we got a bunch of tabs open and you're streaming stuff and you're downloading stuff and uploading stuff and you got all these things going on, the computer can start to get a little bit slow. It can start to hiccup a little bit. You get that, if you use a Mac computer, you get that spinning wheel of death, that rainbow wheel of death, as they call it, where nothing's happening, but it's just spinning and spinning and spinning because it's loading, because you have overloaded the brain of the computer or overloaded the brain of your phone. And we overload our own brains as human beings. And what meditation does for our brains, it clears out all of that temporary data that our brain is juggling and gives us a clean slate. For those of you who are not computer geeks and don't know a whole lot about how computers work, I am far from a computer geek, but I know some things about computers. And I know that computers have these storage units called temporary data. That means from the time that you turn on a computer until the time that you turn it off, that could be days, weeks, months, years, however long you keep the computer on before you restart it. there's a folder of temporary data that the computer holds that basically is like its working active memory of the things that it needs to remember and do while you have it open. So if you're using Google Chrome and you got 20 tabs open in the browser, there's a little bit of temporary data that each one of those tabs is causing the computer to keep in its active memory in order to keep working the way that it's working. And the more active memory it has to use, the computer, the slower it's going to get, the less efficiently it's going to work, until eventually you get that rainbow spinning wheel of death and you're going to have to restart the computer. So be careful when you're doing that. And the older your computer, the more likely this is to happen. Now, I'm telling you that to tell you this. That's the thing that happens with our brains when we have a whole bunch of things going on. We're thinking this thing and that thing. We're being pulled in all these different directions, doing all this different stuff. Yet we just keep overloading our brains with more stuff. All right, remember this, think about this, read this, watch this, talk about this. And we're never giving ourselves a reset. We never reset our own brains. And what eventually happens is, just like the computer or just like the phone, things start malfunctioning. We're not doing things the way that they're supposed to be done. We're not thinking straight. We have this mental fog that starts happening. We're not as focused. We're not as sharp mentally. Even physically, we start to not perform at the level we expect ourselves to. Why? Because our brains have too much going on. Our brains need a reset. This is what meditation does for you. And this is much more important now when we talk about giving your brain a reset and a clean slate, because we now have these devices with us that can add more load to our temporary file literally all day long. All day we can be consuming something else. Oh, let me remember that. Now I got to think about this. Now I got to look at this. Now I have to process this. And these aren't things that you tell yourself, but every time you look at something, read something, watch something, listen to something, you're adding a little bit of a file to that temporary data folder in your brain. Now, understand that temporary data folder in your computer, you can't even read the data. You don't even know what it means. It's just a whole bunch of numbers and HTML files that don't make any sense to you, but the computer knows what they mean. And that's how your brain gets as well. You're just throwing a whole bunch of stuff in there that doesn't really make sense if you were to look at it, but your brain needs it in order to remember everything that you're telling it to remember. Everything you consume, your brain has to remember just a little bit of it, and takes up just a little bit of space in your log, in your file, in your folder of your brain. So when you meditate, you clean that file out, you clean that folder out, and give yourself a blank slate. So that would really help your performance a whole lot, the same way that restarting your computer helps its performance. Even though the brain is the most powerful tool known to man, it can still get overloaded when it is given too much to process. Unlike sleeping, however, because some people might think, well, what about going to sleep, Dre? When I go to sleep, aren't I giving my brain an 8-hour reset? Unlike sleep, meditation happens when you are awake, aware, and conscious. But even though you're awake, aware, and conscious, during your meditation periods, you are hopefully not taking in anything. You are just being. You are just allowing yourself to be awake, conscious, and fully aware, but you're not trying to process anything. Your mind needs this resetting time. Don't process anything. Don't think about anything. Don't do anything. Just be while you're wide awake. When you're sleeping, you're not aware and you're not conscious. You're sleeping. Meditation is when you're doing it wide awake. And there is no right or wrong way to meditate, which I'm going to talk about later on in the show, just in case anybody has that pressing question right now. And there are apps. I should have mentioned this in the introduction, but the two apps that I know best about meditation or for meditation are Calm, C-A-L-M, and Headspace. So either one of those apps, but there are probably 100 others too as well that maybe some of you use, but whatever works. So whatever you need to do, use it. The apps will guide you, at least give you some basic framework of what meditation is and what it's for, just in case. But you could do meditation without an app if you want to. It doesn't have to be with an app, because the app is another thing to take in and remember, if you think about it. Point number 2. Today's topic is why you need a meditation practice in your life. Second thing that meditation does for you is it lets your mind process what it has taken in. It gives your mind some space to finally get to the things that you're taking in. Sometimes when I'm here on this show, I'll make a point, and when I want to really let it soak in for you or emphasize, I will either repeat it or I'll just give a pause after I say it. Like a normal then longer pause, like the one that I did just now. Your brain, especially when it's taking in information that it does not already know, everything that it hears, it needs a moment to process what it heard before it can go on to the next thing. So when you are taking in information that you haven't heard before, such as listening to me right now, I might not be talking about a subject that's brand new to you, but the way that I'm saying it is different from what you've heard before, because these words have not been published before. Your brain needs some time to marinate on what it's heard. It needs some time to process what it just heard and think about it and make sense of it. The challenge for many of us is we go from consuming one thing to consuming something else to doing something to producing something to consume again, produce, consume. We never give our brains any space to actually process what we are going through on a day-to-day basis, which means even though we are taking in a whole bunch of stuff, we've never given ourselves the time to process it. So we may not get the maximum benefit from a lot of the stuff that we're taking in because we're not giving ourselves any space to do so. We're not letting our mind process it because but in the time that it takes your mind to process what it just heard, you're already on the next thing that it needs to pay attention to. So it never gets a chance to process. All it's doing is taking in, but it's never processing any of it. So it never goes beyond the surface level. And this is why we forget a lot of the things that we take in. Even though we take in so much, we can't remember anything. The empty space that you create in your mind when you meditate allows your conscious and subconscious minds to have a conversation, allows them to collaborate and see where they can come up with some new ideas, see where they can see and hear some things that they hadn't noticed while you were taking in information. While learning is, of course, a good thing. I mean, you're not going to hear me tell you that learning is not a good thing. At the same time, if you don't ever give your mind enough space to play around with what you are learning, in other words, processing time, then you're just stuffing yourself full with no time to make sense of it. I mean, it's just like if you were to eat a whole lot of food, but your digestion system wasn't working. Your intestines didn't work. Your large intestine, small intestine didn't work. You weren't having any type of bowel movements or anything. But you just kept eating food and kept eating food. One of two things is going to happen. You're either not going to be able to eat another bite, or you just kill yourself because you had too much food in your body. One or the other is going to happen. We don't do this to our bodies because our bodies are physical. We can see and we can physically feel the results of making this mistake. If we're taking in too much but not allowing our bodies to digest. This is the feeling of feeling full. You ever felt like you were full? Like, man, I ate enough food. I've had enough. I can't drink anymore. I'm not taking in anything else. We all know what that physically feels like, and we stop taking stuff in. But our brains, we can't see them. We can't see when we are giving ourselves mental overload, but you can feel it if you would pay attention. When you start to get to that mental overload, you got to know when to stop, slow down, and allow yourself to process what you've taken in. In other words, giving yourself empty space of not taking anything in. You can't see your mind, but your mind is just as real as your physical body is, and you must give it the space to process the things that you're taking in. Otherwise, you're taking in a whole bunch of stuff that's going to become empty information and empty calories, not because it wasn't useful information, but because you didn't give yourself time to process it. So it never goes beyond the surface level. And then as soon as you give it something else to surface level, it has to push out all that other stuff, all that temporary data that you just took in that would have been great if you would have kept it, but you couldn't keep it because you didn't give yourself process time to take it to a second level, a third level, and a fourth level deep. You immediately push it out with something else at the surface level. This is how people consume so much information, yet they know very little, they don't remember anything, and they don't have any implementations, any real skills that they've gotten from it because they aren't processing. That's what meditation allows you to do. It creates space. You need that space. Point number 3. Today's topic is why you need a meditation practice. Meditation allows you to calm down and center yourself. That's one of the main focuses of meditation, just calming down and centering yourself. All right, there's no scientific, deep explanation result that you need to be getting from meditation. Remember, meditation is detached from all the other things you do all day when you're trying to be, quote, productive, close quote. Meditation is just allowing you to calm down, relax your mind, center yourself, give yourself space to just be alive. When there's a lot going on in your life, what meditation does is allow you to step outside of that whirlwind of activity and give your mind some space to breathe. Gives your mind some elbow room, so to speak. When you're meditating, this is a period where the one period of your day where you don't have to worry about missing anything, because the activity of the world, all right, it'll be there when you get back to it. All right, when you get done meditating and go back to the world, all right, that activity will still be going on. The demands on you will still be there. So you don't need to worry about not missing out on anything. They're not going away. I would think that you'd agree that when you are in a calm and centered state, you make better decisions that are more rational and more well thought out. Is that true? That when you're in a calm state, you make better decisions, that you think more clearly, that you are less reactive, that things tend to go more smoothly and calmly, and other people become more calm when you're calm. When your energy is radiating calmness and a centered and collected state, that's the same thing that happens with the people who come around you. So I think you would agree that being in a calm and centered state is preferable to being in an anxious and wary and being in 10 places at once, mentally at least, state where many people permanently exist in, simply because they never give themselves the time to meditate, never give their brain any space. Again, think of not meditating as your brain eating food after food after food with no digestion, no time to process the food that you're eating. You just keep eating food. Eventually, you're going to kill yourself by eating too much. It's the same thing you're doing to your brain. You're allowing it or causing it to operate at way less than maximum efficiency, because you're not giving it a chance to reset and get space and just figure itself out. All right, your brain needs this. Point number 4. Today's topic is why you need a meditation practice in your life. I want you to remember, as I touched on earlier, meditation is a practice, okay? It is not a science. Meditation is not a skill. It's a practice. Everything that I shared here so far today that happens when you meditate, all right, it all prepares you for when you'll actually need to do these things. There will be times in your life when you need to calm down and center yourself. There'll be times in life when you need to give your mind a reset. There'll be times in life when you need to allow your mind to process the things that you have taken in. And I want you to understand that it's not only during the time that you're meditating. Let's say you meditate for 2 minutes a day. It's not just during those 2 minutes that all of these things are going to occur. You meditate for 2 hours or 10 minutes or anywhere in between. It's not just during that time of meditation that all these things occur. Meditation, again, the reason why meditation is called a practice is this, because it's preparing you. Let's say you meditated for 10 minutes a day. The meditation 10 minutes is preparing you for the other 23 hours and 50 minutes a day when you'll actually need to remain calm, when you'll need to not be reacting, when you need to not match the anxious, fearful, worrisome energy of the people who are coming around you, when you need to not be all frantic and going in 20 different directions like everybody else in the offices, when you need to remain calm amongst all the craziness of life. The 10 minutes a day of meditation is preparing you for when you're going to need it. All right, because during the 10 minutes of meditation, you're already meditating. You're already calm. You're already relaxed. You're already giving yourself a reset. You don't need it as much then, but it's preparing you. It's practicing for when you actually will need it. All right, that's what meditation does. It gets you ready to face the world, because you probably know as well as I do, a lot of people don't meditate. All right, and there are some people you probably know in your life right now who could use some meditation. Right, they're a little bit high strung. They're a little bit all over the place. There's always something with them. Right, you know anybody like that who is always something? They could use a meditation practice, couldn't they? But since you can't force them to meditate, and they're probably not going to take your advice if you try to tell them to meditate, here's what you can do. You can influence their energy through your energy. And the way your energy can influence them in a way that you want it to is you need to learn how to remain calm, collected, and centered when you're around people who are everything but that. And the way you do that is just through what you're radiating, the energy that you're radiating. And how do you get to the point of radiating that energy even when you're around people who are the opposite? Is you practice through meditation every single day. 10 minutes a day of meditation practice, again, is the practice for everyday life, that other 23 hours and 50 minutes when you will need to call on this energy. Let's recap today's class, which is why you need a meditation practice in your life. I've had a few people ask me about this recently, and I wanted to make sure I gave a whole class to the subject. I have talked about meditation just recently in masterclass number 1448, how to reconnect with your instincts and gut feelings. And today I'm selling you on the concept of meditation. When you go out and do it, and remember that there's no right or wrong way to meditate, it's just the fact that you're doing it that allow you to get better. Point number 1, gives your mind a reset. Same way that your computer or your phone gets slow and unresponsive when it's been on for too long and you're asking it to do too many things, resetting it gets it back to normal. Everything starts working smoothly again. It's the same thing that meditation does for your brain. It clears out all that temporary data, and it's very important to clear out temporary data because these days we have these devices within arm's reach at all times. Mine is within arm's reach right now while I'm talking to you, that allow us to add more data, more information, more things to take in, more things to consume, literally 24 hours a day. And so you need meditation for your brain even more than you need to reset your computer or hard restart your phone. Unlike sleep, meditation happens when you're aware and conscious and awake, but you're not taking anything in. You're just allowing yourself to be. This is the resetting time that your mind needs. Point number 2, it allows your mind to process what it has taken in. The empty space you create when you meditate allows your conscious and subconscious minds to collaborate and see when they can come up, how they can come up with some new ideas. If you don't give your mind space to process what you're learning, everything becomes surface information. And as soon as you get some new surface information, it has to push out the old surface information. And this is how people can take in so much info, read so many books, listen to so many masterclasses and podcasts, yet they can't retain anything that they take in simply because they're just taking in stuff, and never give themselves a chance to process what they're taking in. This is a mistake. You can't see it with your mind, but it's just like eating too much food without allowing your body to digest the food. Eventually, you'll get so full you can't eat another bite, or you're going to kill yourself because you're taking in too much stuff. It's the same thing that's happening with your brain. The difference between your brain and your body is you can see and feel what's happening with your body physically. With your brain, you can't, but it is just as important, if not more important. Point number 3, calm down and center yourself is what happens when you meditate. When there's a lot going on in your life, meditation allows you to step outside of that whirlwind of activity and allow your mind to just breathe. You don't have to worry about missing anything because the activity of the world will still be waiting for you when you come back to it. And when you are calm and centered, you make better decisions, you are more calm, you are more rational, and you think things out more often. Is this true or is this not? Of course it is. And point number 4, remember that meditation is a practice. Everything I share here today so far, these are the things that happen when you meditate. They're preparing you for the times that you actually need it. So if you meditate for 5 minutes a day, that 5 minutes of meditation is not just for the 5 minutes. It's preparing you for the 23 minutes and 55 minutes of the rest of the day when you're going to need to call on that calm energy, on that centeredness, on that breathing, on that space, on that not reacting to everything. So the meditation, again, is getting you ready for all the rest of the time when you're not meditating. That is the biggest benefit of it. Work on your game. Dre all day.